Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the ESV Defiance. His hands gripped the metal rail as he watched the main screen. The alien message was coming through for the third time. He did not want to hear it again, but he had to. Listen. The face on the screen was not human. It had 4 eyes and skin like purple leather. Sharp teeth filled its mouth when it spoke. This was Commander Zeth of the Vorthak Empire, leader of the Galactic Dominion forces. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "you have fought us for 3 years. You have lost every major battle. Your colonies are gone. Your trade routes are cut. Now we offer you one final chance." Jake felt his jaw tighten. Around him, his crew stood silent. They all knew what was coming. Surrender now and become part of our empire. Your people will serve us, but they will live. You have 72 hours to give us your answer. If you refuse, we will destroy every human ship, every human world, every human life. There will be nothing left of your species. The message ended. The bridge fell quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jake looked around at his officers. Captain Lisa Parker stood at the tactical station, her face hard as stone. She had lost her brother in the battle at Proxima Station 2 years ago. Dr. Alex Turner sat at the science console, his fingers moving over his computer. The old man had been working on something for months, but Jake did not know if it would be ready in time. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "we have the fleet status report." Jake nodded. "Let me hear it." 47 ships total. 12 are heavy cruisers like us. 20 are destroyers. The rest are fighters and support craft. The Dominion has 300 ships heading this way. They will be here in 70 hours. The numbers were terrible, but Jake had expected them. Earth's fleet had been fighting and losing for 3 years. They had started with over 200 ships. Now they had less than 50. "What about the civilian evacuation?" Jake asked. Commander Danny Wright stepped forward. He was young for his rank, only 32, but he had proven himself in battle after battle. "Most of the outer colonies are empty now. We got the people out before the Dominion arrived, but Earth has 8 billion people. We cannot move them all." Jake walked to the large window that showed the stars. Somewhere out there, the Dominion fleet was coming. 300 ships carrying weapons that could crack a planet open like an egg. He thought about his daughter, Amy, who was down on Earth with her mother. He thought about all the families, all the children who would die if the Dominion attacked. The aliens did not make empty threats. They had already destroyed 6 human colonies completely. Nothing was left but dead rock and space. Dust. "Dr. Turner," Jake said, "how is your project coming along?" The old scientist looked up from his work. His hair was white and his hands shook a little, but his mind was still sharp. "The quantum lance is almost ready, Admiral. But I must warn you again. This weapon has never been tested in real battle. It could work perfectly, or it could destroy our own ship. What are the chances it will work?" Dr. Turner was quiet for a moment. 60%, maybe 70. The theory is sound, but theory and reality are different things. Lisa Parker spoke up. "Sir, even if the weapon works perfectly, we are still facing impossible odds. 47 ships against 300. They have bigger guns, stronger shields, more fighters." Jake nodded. She was right, of course. The math was simple and brutal. Earth's fleet could not win this battle in any normal way. But humans had never been normal. He thought about the first alien contact, 5 years ago. The Vorthak had arrived, with their trade offers and their smiles. They said they came in peace, wanting to bring humanity into their great galactic community. But the peace had been a lie. The Vorthak wanted humans as workers, as slaves. When Earth said no, the war began. The aliens were surprised at first. Most species gave up quickly when faced with the Dominion's power. Humans fought back. Every battle had been a defeat, but humans made the aliens pay for every victory. For every human ship destroyed, they took at least one alien ship with them. The Dominion had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they found a war that cost them more than they had planned. "Admiral," Danny Wright said, "I have been monitoring alien communications. They are talking about making an example of Earth. They want other species to see what happens when you fight the Dominion. Jake turned back to his crew. These were good people, brave people. They had followed him through 3 years of war. They had watched friends die and homes burn. But they were still here, still fighting. Send a message to all ships in the fleet, Jake said. All captains are to report to the Defiance for a meeting in 4 hours. Yes, sir, Lisa said. What should I tell them the meeting is about? Jake was quiet for a long moment. He looked out at the stars again, thinking about his daughter, his wife, all the people of Earth who were counting on them. The Dominion thought humans would surrender when faced with certain death. They thought fear would make humanity kneel. They were wrong. Tell them we are going to discuss our answer to the Dominion's offer, Jake said. And tell them to bring their best ideas for killing alien ships. The bridge crew smiled, not happy smiles, but the hard smiles of people who had chosen to fight instead of run. They knew the odds. They knew they would probably die. But they also knew that some things were worth dying for. Freedom was one of those things. As his officers went to work, Jake stood alone at the window. In 72 hours, he would have to give the Dominion an answer. He already knew what that answer would be. Humanity would fight. 48 hours remained. All across the solar system, humans worked like they had never worked before. Every ship, every station, every person had a job to do. They all knew that failure meant the end of everything they loved. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the main briefing room of the Defiance. 47 ship captains filled the seats around him. Some were old friends from the academy. Others were young officers who had earned their commands in battle. All of them looked tired. 3 years of war had aged everyone. We have 2 days to prepare for the largest battle in human history, Jake said. The Dominion fleet will arrive with 300 ships. We have 47. The odds are not good. Captain Roy Henderson raised his hand. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his face from the battle at New Boston. Admiral, my ships are ready to fight. We have been ready for 3 years. Just tell us where you want us. Jake nodded. Roy was one of his best commanders. His ships always fought hard and never gave up. I am dividing our fleet into 3 groups, Jake said. Roy, you will take 15 ships and form the advance guard. Your job is to hit them first and hit them hard. Make them think we are stronger than we are. Understood, sir, Roy said. When do we move out? In 12 hours. You will position your ships near Jupiter. Use the gas giant's gravity and radiation to help you. The aliens do not like fighting near big planets. It confuses their sensors. Jake turned to another officer. Commander Kate Sullivan, you will take 20 ships and form a defensive line around Earth. If Roy's group fails to stop them, you are our last defense. Kate was younger than Roy, but just as tough. She had saved thousands of lives during the evacuation of Mars. My ships will hold the line, Admiral. They will not reach Earth. Good, Jake said. I will take the remaining 12 ships and try something the aliens will not expect. The captains looked at each other. They knew Jake had a plan, but he had not told them what it was yet. Dr. Alex Turner entered the room. The old scientist looked even more tired than usual. His white coat was stained with oil and his hands were dirty from working on machines. The quantum lance is ready, he said. We have installed it on the Defiance. But I must warn you all again. This weapon draws power from our entire reactor. If something goes wrong, we could lose the ship. What exactly does this weapon do? Asked Captain Linda Ross. She commanded one of the newer destroyers. Dr. Turner moved to the display screen. It fires a beam of pure quantum energy. In theory, it can punch through any shield the Dominion uses. In theory, it can destroy their biggest ships with one shot. In theory, Captain Henderson said. What about in practice? We will find out when we use it, Dr. Turner said honestly. The weapon has never been fired at full power. We could not test it without alerting the Dominion to what we were building. The room was quiet. Everyone understood. They were betting everything on a weapon that might not work. There is something else, Jake said. Captain Lisa Parker has been studying Dominion battle tactics. Lisa, tell them what you have learned. Lisa stood up. She had been Jake's tactical officer for 5 years. Her mind was like a computer when it came to warfare. The Dominion has one big weakness, she said. They always fight the same way. They line up their ships in formation and attack straight ahead. They depend on having more ships and bigger guns than their enemies. That has worked for them so far, Captain Ross said. Yes, but they have never fought humans before, Lisa replied. Other species give up when they see they are outnumbered. We do not give up. Other species follow rules in battle. We make up new rules. Jake smiled. Lisa was right. Humans had always been different. When other species saw a problem, they looked for the correct solution. When humans saw a problem, they found any solution that worked. The aliens expect us to form battle lines and trade shots with them, Jake said. Instead, we are going to do everything they do not expect. Roy, your ships will attack from multiple directions at once. Use asteroids for cover. Ram them if you have to. Roy grinned. My kind of fighting, Admiral. Kate, your defensive group will not sit and wait. You will move constantly. Use Earth's moon. Use the space stations. Use anything that can hide a ship. Make them work for every shot. What about your group, Admiral? Kate asked. Jake looked around the room. These officers trusted him. They would follow his orders even if those orders led to death. My group will go straight at their command. Ship, he said. While you are keeping them busy, we will try to cut off the head of the snake. The room erupted in voices. Several captains started to object. It sounded like suicide. Sir, Captain Henderson said loudly, that is extremely dangerous. Their command ship will be protected by their best vessels. I know, Jake said, but sometimes the most dangerous plan is the only plan that can work. Dr. Turner spoke up. Admiral, if we can get close enough to their flagship, the quantum lance should be able to destroy it. Without their command ship, their fleet will be in chaos. And if the weapon does not work? Captain Ross asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then we ram them. 47 ships against 300. We make every shot count. We make every ship count. We show them that humans do not surrender. The captains looked at each other. They all knew this was probably their last battle. Many of them would not survive the next 2 days. But they also knew that some fights were worth having, even if you could not win. Any questions? Jake asked. Captain Sullivan raised her hand. Admiral, what about the civilians on Earth? If we fail, what happens to them? Jake thought about his daughter Amy. She was safe in an underground shelter, but shelters would not help if the Dominion decided to destroy the planet. We do not fail, he said simply. Failure is not an option. The meeting ended. The captains returned to their ships to prepare for battle. Jake watched them go. These were the best people he had ever known. In 2 days, some of them would be dead, but they would die fighting for something they believed in. As the last captain left, Dr. Turner approached Jake. Admiral, there is one more thing about the quantum lance, the old man said quietly. If we fire it at maximum power, it might do more than destroy their command ship. It might send a message across the galaxy. What kind of message? Dr. Turner smiled. The kind that tells everyone that humans do not give up. The battle began at the edge of the solar system. Captain Roy Henderson watched his scanner as the first Dominion ships appeared near Jupiter. They were huge, dark shapes that blocked out the stars behind them. Each alien vessel was twice the size of his biggest cruiser. All ships, this is Henderson, he spoke into his radio. Remember the plan. Hit them fast, hit them hard, then get out. Do not try to be heroes. We need to buy time for the Admiral. His 15 ships spread out in a wide formation. They hid behind Jupiter's moons and used the planet's radiation belts to mask their approach. The Dominion had sent 50 ships to sweep the outer system. They expected easy victory. They were wrong. Henderson's ship, the ESV Thunder, fired first. His missiles streaked through space and hit a Dominion cruiser before the aliens knew humans were there. The enemy ship's shields flared and died. Secondary explosions ripped through its hull. First blood to us, Henderson said with a grim smile. The other human ships opened fire. Missiles and energy beams lit up the darkness. 3 more alien ships took damage before they could respond. But the Dominion had numbers on their side. "Incoming fire," called his weapons officer. 50 enemy ships. Targeting us. The space around Henderson's fleet erupted in light and death. Alien plasma bolts struck human shields. The smaller human ships danced between the heavy fire, using their speed to avoid the worst of it. Young pilot Sarah Blake flew her fighter through the chaos. She had graduated from flight school only 2 months ago, but she flew like a veteran. Her squadron of 12 fighters buzzed around the big alien ships like angry wasps. "Blake to all fighters," she called on the radio. "Target their weapon ports. Small hits in the right places can do big damage." Her fighter dove toward a Dominion battleship. Its point defense guns tracked her, filling space with deadly fire. Sarah twisted and turned, her ship dancing between the energy bolts. She fired her missiles at the exact moment she passed under the alien vessel's main gun. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. The alien weapon went dark, its firing mechanism destroyed. Sarah's squadron followed her example, striking at weak points and sensor arrays. But the human forces were badly outnumbered. Captain Henderson watched 2 of his destroyers disappear in balls of fire. The ESV Boston took a direct hit and began spinning out of control, its hull cracked open like a broken egg. "All ships, begin withdrawal," Henderson ordered. "We have done what we came to do." The human fleet started to pull back, but the Dominion commander had other ideas. The alien ships surged forward, trying to destroy the retreating humans. That was when Henderson made his choice. "Thunder to all ships," he said calmly. "Continue retreat. I am going to buy you some time." "Sir, no," came the voice of Captain Nina Torres from the destroyer ESV Wolf. "We can all make it out." "Negative," Henderson replied. "Take command of the group, Nina. Get them to Earth safely." Henderson turned his ship toward the largest Dominion vessel, a massive dreadnought that led the alien formation. He pushed his engines to maximum power and aimed his ship like a missile. The Thunder was badly damaged. Its shields were gone and its weapons were nearly dead. But it still had one thing left to give. "This is for New Boston," Henderson whispered, thinking of his home colony that the aliens had destroyed 2 years ago. The Thunder struck the Dominion dreadnought at full speed. The explosion lit up the entire battlefield. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Henderson had traded his life and his ship for the alien flagship. The surviving human ships escaped toward Earth. Behind them, the Dominion force was in confusion. They had expected to crush the human advance guard easily. Instead, they had lost 6 ships and their commander. Captain Torres led the retreat with tears in her eyes. Roy Henderson had been her friend and mentor, but she knew he would want her to focus on the mission. Meanwhile, back on the Defiance, Dr. Alex Turner worked frantically in the ship's engineering section. The quantum lance was installed, but it was not working correctly. The targeting system kept failing. Dr. Turner called Amy Chen his best engineer. "The quantum field generators are not aligned properly. If we fire now, the beam could go anywhere." Amy was only 26 years old, but she understood quantum physics better than most professors. She had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to make the weapon function. "How long do you need to fix it?" Dr. Turner asked. "At least 6 hours," Amy replied. "Maybe more." "We do not have 6 hours," came Admiral Morrison's voice over the radio. "The main Dominion fleet will be here in 4 hours." Amy looked at the broken targeting system. It was a maze of cables and quantum processors. One mistake could destroy the entire ship. But without the weapon, the battle was already lost. "I can fix it," she said. "But I will have to do it manually. Someone will need to stay in the quantum chamber while the weapon charges." Dr. Turner went pale. "Amy, no. The radiation in that chamber will kill anyone inside when the weapon fires." "Then we better make sure the weapon works," Amy said with a sad smile. She grabbed her tools and headed for the quantum chamber. Dr. Turner tried to stop her, but she was already through the heavily shielded door. "Amy, please," the old scientist called after her. "There has to be another way." "There is no other way." Amy's voice came through the radio. And even if there was, we do not have time to find it. For the next 3 hours, Amy worked inside the quantum chamber. Her hands moved carefully over the delicate equipment, making tiny adjustments to the targeting array. The radiation levels in the chamber were already dangerous, but she kept working. "Dr. Turner," she called over the radio. "I think I have it. The targeting system should work now." "Amy, get out of there," Dr. Turner pleaded. "You have done enough." "No," Amy said quietly. "Someone needs to make the final adjustments when the weapon charges. The quantum field is too unstable. If the alignment shifts even a little bit, the beam will miss." Dr. Turner understood. Amy was going to sacrifice herself to make sure the weapon worked. One young woman was going to give her life so that humanity might have a chance. "Amy," he said softly, "your parents would be proud of you." "I hope so," she replied. "Tell them, I love them." The main Dominion fleet appeared on the long-range scanners. 300 ships led by the alien commander who had given Earth the ultimatum. They came in perfect formation, confident in their victory. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched them approach. In 1 hour, the real battle would begin. Everything depended on whether Amy Chen could make the quantum lance work. "All ships," Morrison spoke into his radio. "This is it. Today we find out what humans are really made of." Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance as the main Dominion fleet approached Earth. 300 alien ships moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting the light of the sun. At their center was the massive command ship, twice the size of any other vessel in the fleet. "All ships prepare for battle," Morrison spoke into his radio. "Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth today. We are fighting for the idea that free people do not bow to tyrants." The Defiance led 11 other ships in a direct course toward the enemy fleet. It looked like suicide, and maybe it was, but sometimes the most dangerous plan was the only one that could work. Behind them, Commander Kate Sullivan positioned her 20 ships around Earth's moon. Her vessels hid behind space stations and orbital platforms, ready to strike when the enemy came within range. "Kate to Admiral," Sullivan's voice came over the radio. "My ships are in position. We will make them pay for every mile they advance." Morrison nodded. Kate was one of his best officers. If anyone could hold the defensive line, it was her. On the other side of the solar system, Captain Nina Torres led the survivors of Henderson's advance guard around the far side of Jupiter. Her 10 remaining ships moved through the asteroid belt, using the floating rocks to hide their approach. The Dominion commander watched the human formations with confusion. These tactics made no sense. The humans were dividing their tiny fleet into even smaller groups. It should make them easier to destroy. But Commander Zeth of the Vorthak Empire had been fighting humans for 3 years. He had learned not to underestimate them. These creatures did not think like other species. They were unpredictable and dangerous. "All ships advance," Zeth ordered. "Destroy the human flagship first. Cut off their command and the rest will surrender." The Dominion fleet moved forward, like a great wall of metal and death. Their weapons began to charge, preparing to unleash destruction on the small human force. Morrison watched them come. In the quantum chamber deep inside his ship, Amy Chen was making final adjustments to the targeting system. She had been in there for 4 hours, absorbing deadly radiation with every minute that passed. "Amy," Dr. Turner called over the radio. "How are the repairs coming?" "Almost finished," Amy replied, but her voice was weak. The radiation was killing her slowly. "Give me 2 more minutes." Morrison knew they did not have 2 minutes. The enemy fleet was already within firing range, but he waited. Everything depended on Amy's work. The first Dominion ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and energy beams streaked through space toward the Defiance. Morrison's ship rocked under the impact, its shields flaring bright blue. "Return fire," Morrison ordered. "All weapons." The Defiance and its escort ships began firing back. Their missiles and energy weapons struck the leading Dominion vessels, but the alien shields absorbed most of the damage. The humans were badly outgunned. "Sir," called Lisa Parker from her tactical station, "we are taking heavy damage. Shields down to 60%. That was when Torres struck from behind. Her 10 ships emerged from the asteroid belt like ghosts, firing into the rear of the Dominion formation. The aliens had not expected attack from multiple directions. 3 Dominion cruisers exploded as Torres's missiles found their targets. The perfect enemy formation began to waver as ships turned to face this new threat. At the same time, Sullivan's defensive force opened fire from around Earth's moon. Her ships used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast, then disappearing behind orbital stations. The Dominion found themselves fighting on 3 fronts at once. Young Lieutenant Emma Murphy commanded one of Sullivan's destroyers. She led her ship in a daring attack run through the enemy formation, her weapons targeting the alien supply ships in the rear. "All destroyers, follow me," Emma called on the radio. "Aim for their ammunition carriers." Her small force punched through the Dominion line and struck at the vulnerable support vessels. The explosions that followed were spectacular as alien ammunition stores detonated, sending shockwaves through the enemy fleet. But the humans were still vastly outnumbered. For every alien ship they destroyed, the Dominion destroyed 2 human vessels. Morrison watched his fleet shrinking with each passing minute. "Amy," he called desperately, "I need that weapon now." "Ready," Amy's weak voice came back. "Quantum, Lance is online. But Admiral, someone needs to stay in the chamber to keep the targeting aligned. The quantum field is too unstable." Morrison understood. Amy was going to die to make the weapon work. One brave young woman was sacrificing everything for a chance at victory. "Fire when ready," Morrison said quietly. Deep in the ship, Amy Chen placed her hands on the targeting controls. The radiation in the chamber was lethal now, but she forced herself to concentrate. Her hands moved over the controls with steady precision, aligning the quantum field generators. "Firing now," she whispered. The quantum lance fired for the first time in battle. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, erupted from the Defiance. It punched through space at the speed of light, striking 3 Dominion ships in a perfect line. The alien vessels simply vanished. Their shields, their armor, their hulls meant nothing against the quantum beam. One moment they were there, the next they were scattered atoms drifting in space. The entire battlefield fell silent. Both sides stared in shock at what they had just witnessed. The humans had a weapon that could destroy any ship with a single shot. "My God," whispered Lisa Parker. It actually worked. But Morrison knew they had paid a terrible price. "Amy," he called into the radio. "Amy, respond." There was no answer from the quantum chamber. Amy Chen had given her life to make the weapon function. She had died so that humanity might have a chance. The Dominion fleet began to panic. They had never faced a weapon like this before. Commander Zeth ordered his ships to spread out, making them harder to target. "All ships focus fire on the human flagship," Zeth commanded. "Destroy that weapon before it can fire again." Every Dominion gun turned toward the Defiance. The human flagship disappeared in a storm of enemy fire. Its shields collapsed and its hull began to crack under the assault. "Sir," Lisa called out over the sound of explosions. "Shields are gone. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. We cannot take much more of this." Morrison gripped his command chair as his ship shook apart around him. The quantum lance was charging for a second shot, but it would take 2 more minutes. They had to survive that long. "All ships," Morrison called on the radio. "Protect the Defiance. Everything depends on getting off one more shot." The surviving human vessels threw themselves between the Defiance and the enemy fleet. They absorbed punishment meant for the flagship, their hulls cracking and burning as they shielded Morrison's ship. Sarah Blake led her fighter squadron in a desperate attack on the Dominion command ship. Her small craft dodged between the massive alien weapons, firing at sensor arrays and communication equipment. "This is for Amy Chen," Sarah said as she lined up her shot. Her missiles struck the command ship's main sensor dish, blinding the vessel, temporarily. It was a small victory, but every second counted. Morrison watched the countdown on his tactical screen. 1 minute until the quantum lance could fire again. Around him, his ship was dying, held together by determination and the sacrifice of his crew. 30 seconds, Dr. Turner called from the engineering deck. The Dominion fleet pressed closer, their weapons hammering the human formation. More ships died, Their crews lost to the cold vacuum of space, but the survivors fought on, protecting their flagship with their lives. 10 seconds, Dr. Turner announced. Morrison targeted the Dominion command ship. If he could destroy their leader, the enemy fleet might break apart. Fire, he ordered. The quantum lance fired its second shot. The beam of pure energy crossed space in an instant and struck Commander Zeth's flagship. The massive alien vessel exploded like a dying star, taking its entire crew with it. The Dominion fleet stopped firing. For a moment, space was quiet except for the crackling of damaged ships and the whisper of escaping air. The aliens had lost their commander and their most powerful ship, but the battle was far from over. The destruction of the Dominion command ship sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Admiral Jake Morrison watched as the enemy formation began to break apart. Some ships continued firing, but others seemed confused without their leader. But Morrison knew the battle was not over. The quantum lance had burned out completely after its second shot. The weapon that had given them hope was now just dead metal. His own ship, the Defiance, was barely holding together. Fires burned on 3 decks and half his crew was dead or wounded. "Sir," Captain Lisa Parker called from her damaged console. "The Dominion still has over 200 ships. We have 18 left." Morrison looked at the tactical display. Even without their commander, the aliens still outnumbered humanity 10-1. The math was simple and brutal. Earth's fleet could not win this fight. "All ships," Morrison spoke into his radio. "Prepare for final attack. We are going to ram the largest enemy vessels. If we are going to die today, we take as many of them with us as possible." The surviving human ships began to move toward the alien fleet. They had no weapons left that could hurt the big Dominion vessels. But they still had one thing to give: their lives. Captain Nina Torres in the ESV Wolf was the first to respond. "Admiral, my ship is ready for ramming speed. It has been an honor serving with you." One by one, the other captains confirmed their readiness. These were people who had fought for 3 years against impossible odds. They were tired, hurt, and far from home. But they were not defeated. As the human ships prepared for their final charge, something unexpected happened. Captain Lisa Parker noticed strange signals coming from some of the Dominion vessels. "Sir," she said with surprise, "I am picking up transmissions from inside the enemy fleet. Some of their ships are not responding to orders." Morrison looked at the communication display. The signals were coming from ships in the rear of the Dominion formation. They were not Vorthak vessels, but ships from other species that had been forced to serve the Empire. Dr. Alex Turner, working from a damaged science station, analyzed the signals. "Admiral, these are rebellion broadcasts. Some of the alien crews are fighting against their Vorthak commanders." As if to prove his point, one of the Dominion ships suddenly opened fire on its own allies, then another, and another. What had started as a unified enemy fleet was now tearing itself apart. Commander Kate Sullivan, still commanding the defensive forces around Earth, saw the chaos in the enemy ranks. "All ships, the aliens are fighting each other. This is our chance." Young Lieutenant Emma Murphy seized the moment. She led her destroyer and 3 others in a strike against the confused alien vessels. Her weapons found their targets as the enemy struggled to decide who to fight. "This is Lieutenant Murphy. To all human ships," she called on the radio. "The alien slaves are rebelling. They want to be free just like us." Morrison realized what was happening. For centuries, the Dominion had conquered other species by overwhelming them with superior numbers. The defeated races became slaves, forced to crew Dominion ships and fight Dominion wars. But those enslaved crews had been watching the human fleet for the past hour. They had seen 47 ships face 300 without surrendering. They had watched humans choose death over slavery, and something inside them had awakened. The rebellion spread through the Dominion fleet like fire. Ships that had served the Empire for decades suddenly turned their guns on their masters. Slave crews who had given up hope years ago remembered what freedom felt like. A new voice came over the communication channels. It spoke in broken English, but the message was clear. "Human ships, this is Captain Krell of the Zephyrian people. We have been slaves for 50 years. Your courage has shown us that freedom is still possible. We will fight beside you." More voices joined in. The Altarians, conquered 20 years ago. The Centauri clans, enslaved for a century. Dozens of species that had forgotten their own names were remembering who they used to be. The Vorthak ships found themselves surrounded by enemies. The neat battle formation they had maintained for centuries collapsed into chaos. Slave ships attacked their masters while human vessels struck at targets of opportunity. Pilot Sarah Blake led her fighter squadron through the confusion, targeting Vorthak communication arrays. Her small craft danced between the massive ships, firing at the equipment the aliens used to coordinate their forces. "Sarah, to all fighters," she called. "Hit their command systems. Make it impossible for them to organize." Her squadron followed her lead, striking at the nerve centers of the remaining Vorthak ships. Each successful attack made the enemy more confused and desperate. Morrison watched the battle turn in humanity's favor. The Dominion fleet that had seemed so powerful an hour ago was now broken and scattered. Rebel ships hunted down their former masters while human vessels provided support. But the Admiral knew this was more than just a military victory. Word of this battle would spread across the galaxy. Every enslaved species would hear about the day when humans refused to surrender and inspired others to fight for freedom. "Dr. Turner," Morrison called, "can you boost our communication array? I want to send a message that every species in the galaxy can hear." The old scientist worked quickly at his console. "Ready, Admiral. You are broadcasting on all frequencies." Morrison took a deep breath. What he said next would echo across 1,000 worlds. "To all free peoples of the galaxy," he began. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. Today, humanity faced extinction rather than surrender our freedom. We were 47 ships against 300. We should have died." He paused, looking at the battle raging around them. Dozens of species were now fighting side by side against their former oppressors. But we did not die alone. We found that the galaxy is full of people who remember what freedom means. The Dominion told us we were weak because we would not kneel. They were wrong. We are strong because we will not kneel. The message was picked up by communication stations across dozens of star systems. On planets where rebellion had seemed impossible, people listened to the words of the human admiral and began to hope. The remaining Vorthak ships tried to retreat, but they found no safe passage. Former slaves blocked every escape route, their weapons trained on the masters who had oppressed them for so long. Commander Zeth's second-in-command tried to rally the Vorthak forces, but it was too late. The empire that had ruled through fear and superior numbers now faced enemies who were no longer afraid. The last Vorthak ship was destroyed 3 hours after the battle began. As the wreckage drifted through space, representatives from a dozen species contacted Morrison. "Admiral," came the voice of Captain Krell. "What happens now? The Dominion fleet is destroyed, but there are more ships in other systems." Morrison looked out at the stars, thinking of all the worlds still under Dominion control. The battle for Earth was over, but the war for galactic freedom was just beginning. "Now we build a new alliance," he said. "Not an empire ruled by fear, but a partnership of free peoples. Anyone who wants to live free is welcome to join us." As Earth began to rebuild its fleet, messages poured in from across the galaxy. Species that had been silent for centuries were speaking up, declaring their independence from the Dominion. The human example had lit a fire that would burn across 1,000 worlds. Morrison stood on the bridge of his damaged ship and smiled. Humanity had faced extinction and chosen to fight. In doing so, they had not just saved themselves. They had reminded an entire galaxy what it meant to be free. The stars no longer looked cold and distant. They looked like homes waiting to be liberated.